Record. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Solution Sunday, because the soul is the solution. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing, creator of Solution Sunday, and I am here with my good friend and monthly guest, Keith Leon S. Keith, happy day, happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know Keith, Keith is world famous, international, 9-time best-selling author and publisher, and he's the publisher of the book series Navigating the Clickety-Clack: How to Live a Peace-Filled Life in a Seemingly Toxic World. This is how Keith and I met, was doing this book. And now we are moving on to new ventures together. Keith is now moving beyond publishing into filmmaking, and he is creating an incredible film. Keith, do you want to tell about the film before we get rolling on our topic for today?
Absolutely. Well, making films has always been a dream of mine, and I've just been doing everything that I needed to do to be prepared and ready for that, and doing a lot of what we're going to talk about today, which is all the success that I've had has been staring my fears down and just moving through them anyway. And so it's not a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm having all success in publishing and things are going well, I think I'll make a film now. And then just dive into that. So but I did always have a dream of that. And if you've read my book, you know that 20s and 30s, my dream was, to be a musician and play music with legendary people. Did that. 40s was author, and 50s was make film. Well, the author thing went so well and ended up getting into publishing, and it went so well that found myself going, hey, wait a minute, I'm pushing 57 now and I haven't done a film yet. So I decided to turn my attention over there as well as publishing. And so if I was going to make a film, what would it be about? And it was funny because I remember, Lisa, I thought I would do a film about a subject that I had really delved into when I was younger. I talked to a lot of people who had passed over to the other side and come back, and found out that each and every one of them experienced what they believed before they died. So whether it was complete darkness or the family in heaven or Jesus or any of that, it was always exactly what they thought, therefore proving for me what Yeshua, also known as Jesus, aka Jesus, said when he said, it happens as you believe it is done unto you. So I thought I'd get into that. And then I remember, Lisa, you were like, well, what about the body's ability to heal? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll sit with that. And as I did, it was just like, absolutely, like, this is the time for that. This is the time for that. And it would give me the opportunity to feature Lisa, because she was instrumental in my healing and letting go of this, chronic pain I had been carrying around with me like a knapsack for 26 years. So what better way to introduce her to the world than to do a film? So the film's called The In Side Effects, all lowercase except for the word in. Visualize that in your head. The In Side Effects, how the body heals itself. And so I've been able to feature Lisa and friends Karen and Deanna, alongside a whole bunch of incredible folks that some of you might know. John DeMartini from The Secret, JP Sears, Kyle Cease, Dr. Bradley, right? And McCready, Roland McCready, and I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just incredible. Maddie Lansdowne was awesome in this film as well. So it's it'll be coming out later this year, and it's pretty exciting because I'm been in the editing process, and we are putting the finishing touches on the film this coming week. And because I like to do things differently than other people. Some people love to put out a date and then be completely stressed about making that date and sometimes miss it. A lot of times miss it. I like to get something done, like the film done and in the can, know that it's complete, and then plan the marketing from there so that there's no matter what date I chose, it's ready to go. So pretty exciting times. And I have to say it really came out well, and it's going to make a huge difference in the world. So we are excited over here. That's for sure.
Yahoo! I can't wait to see it. I've seen little snippets of some of the trailers, and it's gonna be top notch. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
So why do you think that right now is the time for this movie?
Well, the last few years, for one thing, I think finally an awareness is being brought forth through alternative media and conversations and online shows like this and others. And there are so many now. Of course, it's never going to hit the mainstream media. They've been kind of just dripping little teeny droplets over in mainstream media. But now's the time because it's what you keep talking about, the Great Awakening. It's time for the world to know that the body has the ability to heal itself, and we don't. There's no reason to stick strictly to pharmaceuticals and practices that are more reactional, that don't actually have anything to do with getting to the core reason of why a seeming appearance of sickness was created. Because once you get to that, you can uncreate it. They wouldn't want to necessarily know that because they'd rather have us, push pills and do surgeries and all that stuff. So yeah, so we'd get into that and more. And yeah, like I said, perfect timing. And interesting thing, I was telling a younger person about the film, and and he was just wow, 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 wow. When I was telling him about everything from the Rockefeller model to viruses and all of that, and he was just like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I can't wait to see that." And that really excited me because I would love for even younger folks to take this on and pass it around and to reach that crowd because they are the future leaders, right, of the world, the future doctors and the future everything. So love it if it goes amongst them and takes off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are so many people that, you know, deep down inside, they know there's something very amiss in the
Yeah.
world today. So I think
Yeah.
it's very appropriate that the film comes out at this time. And this is why we're talking about our topic for today, which is it is time to walk through our fears.
Mm.
Fears, I say, which I got from somebody else who got from somebody else, but fear, false evidence appearing to be real. When we face our fears and we walk through them, when we get to the other side of the fear, we realize it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, that we had
Mhm.
put a lot of time and energy and wasted emotion into fearing something that we didn't need to fear.
Mhm.
But the way the universe works, just what you were saying in the beginning, that when you knew people that had near death experiences and walked out of their body, and they ended up exactly where they believed they would.
Mhm.
So why is this? Why do we have fears? Why do we step out of our body and then come back in? If we had died, then we're still here. So when we start to look at this, we start to recognize that there is more to life than meets the eye, and that is consciousness. We are beings of consciousness. We are non-physical beings. Consciousness itself is non-physical, but we are trained to place all of our attention on the physical stuff. And when we look only at the physical stuff, we are seeing the results of our consciousness. We are seeing the results of our beliefs. So we always live out our beliefs because we are here to experience our beliefs in physical form. And the biggest belief that is false evidence appearing real is death itself.
Mm.
As pure consciousness, we cannot die. We are non-physical beings. So let's start looking at what are these false beliefs? What is all of this? And how can we start to take our power back from these false beliefs? What do you think about all this, Keith?
I love it. Huge can of worms.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I think I know that before I was really clear about what you're talking about, that I let my fears that were completely irrational run my forward progress in things, right? People say they have fear of failure. It's really fear of success in a lot of a lot of occasions, and I was run by the fear that they'd love to sell is that I could ever be homeless, right? And even everything is a choice, even including that. When I realized that there's no way that if I was willing to reach out and share with people, if I got to that point, that there was nobody, not even some clients, who would let me be on the street. But that was like the big irrational fear, right? And then so many people are run by the fear of death as well, like you're saying, so much that they're forgetting to live while they're here and purely putting all their focus on the after. And you talk about creating heaven on earth, and I think that's a choice as well. I was recently with the editor and who I've been working on the film with, and I said something to that fact that we can have heaven or hell right here on earth. We don't have to wait till the next lifetime to get it. And that just kind of blew the top of his head off. He was just like, oh my God. Oh my God, that's so true.
So obvious when we see it.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so many people that, like you said, have crossed over and come back, and all of their experiences were what they believed. And so call it co-creation or creation, it's the same thing, even if you're co-creating with what, right? The universe, the energy, the God that created everything, it's still creation. So it does happen as we believe. And so if that's true, then wouldn't we want to believe good things that are in our best interest, that serve us, serve our community, and serve the people whom we want to reach, right? Let's put our focus there instead of sitting around worried about something we have no control over, and two, has proven to not really exist. That the nothingness that some people believe in, they do get that because that's what they believe. But even that, there's still energy swirling in what appears to be nothingness, right? Or it's the soul can't die, no matter where it's sitting or being. It's just it can't be put out. That light cannot be put out, even if it's sitting in the dark. And we know there is no light without the dark, and no dark without the light. So that's supportive of that statement. That's what I have on that.
Yeah.
Drink some more base tea.
Ooh, Ace tea plug.
Mhm.
They make great sweatshirts and sweatpants too. Yeah, my take on this is when I was a very little girl, I've told this story many, many times, but I would go to bed at night and I would lay there and I would just become light, just part of the unified field. And all there was, no matter where I turned, no matter where I looked, there was just light and unconditional love. That was it. No
Yeah.
things, right? The space of no thing, like there was no stuff, like, like no objects, no things, just all that is exists inside this light. And it is the light of source, God itself. God isn't a person like some guy in the sky. Like, that was always what I heard from the religion. He's going to judge you and you're going to go to hell if you don't do the right things. And I looked around, I was like, there is nobody judging. That is what unconditional love is. It is the
Right.
absence of judgment. It
Yeah.
is complete honor and respect for all choices. And I realized that we as infinite beings have made choices to come here in these physical bodies to experience ourselves in physical form, which means we are experiencing all of our beliefs, the
Mm.
beliefs about ourselves, our beliefs about God, our beliefs about other people, our beliefs about right and wrong, good and bad. And when we get right down to it, all of those beliefs, we've been taught all of those beliefs. They're not ours intrinsically, because when we are one with source, when we are beingness itself, we have no beliefs. There's no need to believe in anything. There's just knowing. So what I
Mm.
teach my clients is to move beyond belief into
Mm.
knowing, because the
Mm.
belief is all of these rules that we have been taught when we come into these physical bodies. You know, you're this religion and you're that religion and they're that religion over there. And we don't play with those people because they're bad. And, you have to fight your way to the top and you got to work to succeed and you got to get an education. And all of these are limiting beliefs. We come in and we are fully connected to source. What are we learning? We're learning all of the beliefs, all of the ways that we're supposed to be.
Mm.
Then we just follow the rules of how we're supposed to be, and we stop being who we truly are, and we stop living. And then we just go into surviving.
Yeah. I'm sure that's why we connected. We're like in so many ways. I was just born knowing things that grown-ups were still trying to figure out, and like I got kicked out of a Catholic church. I was really young. My friend said, hey, can Keith come with me to church? And they were like, sure. And so I listened to the priest, and and I approached him after with some questions, and not the normal type of questions I guess that kids would ask. My questions were like, if God is the Father, why would I call you that? That was one of them. uh, why would I call you Father?
I love
And
that.
like when you said that Jesus said that, don't you think he meant this? And then I was really channeling a more universal thought than a dogmatic thought. And in each of my questions, he just got more agitated, and then he just said, what do you know, basically, and then went to the parents of the kid and said I wasn't welcome back. So that was fun, and
Wow, unconditional love at its best.
right,
Right?
yeah, yeah, and it was like I went to so many churches and so many spiritual centers, especially in my late teens, kind of early 20s, just looking for the place where I felt this thing that they were calling God. Like I was like, if I can't feel it, it's not here. Right. I shouldn't have to generate it. I should walk in and feel it already in the place. And yeah, truly I never felt that till I landed in this one church that my aunt asked me. She just said, I've actually heard all the things that you believe from a pulpit. You got to check this out. And I went and checked that out, and then ultimately ended up getting going to Agape from there, and those were really the first two places that I ever like felt it. Like, and when I walked in the room, felt it, like the music was like first song, standing in a puddle of tears, and it's just I felt there was a connection to what you were talking about was there, right? Because everybody who was there had the same vision, right? And the same creation of wanted a place of unconditional love, and it was also the most universally uh I mean, everybody was there, every kind of person from every walk of life in the room and worshiping, which was amazing. Just, Jewish person over here, African person over there, Muslim over there, like just wherever you looked, and we were all together, and nobody was trying to be right about anything. That's the part that blew my mind. No matter who, when they said, "What do you think about that?" and I would share what I thought about that, and every person would go, "Oh, that's cool. I never thought about it that way," or "Oh, I'm going to sit with that. I'm going to meditate on that." And I was like, one person went, "No, no, this is it. This is the way." And I was in a room full of 1,500 people, so that was blowing my mind. So yeah, yeah, I love this. I love this subject.
No, I started to look at, I've had friends who have crossed over, and they've come back and visited me in the non-physical form. And, it's completely obvious that it's them, and we have a conversation, and, it's completely obvious that they have not ceased to exist, but they are living as who they truly are in the light as themselves and
Yeah.
seeing through the illusions.
Mm.
And it has really occurred to me that we are really, we have learned death. Like, it's not a thing that we would normally do as an infinite being. like, like, so we're coming here and we're learning, we're exploring being the opposite of who we are. And when we start to, what has occurred to me is that because we can't die, that the body stopping is just simply we're getting out of the car. Like, the body is our vehicle. And when the vehicle stops, we're taught that that's the end of all life. And that's not true at all. But because the vast majority of humans are afraid of death, death is a huge cattle prod. Do this or else you'll die. Do this
Right.
other thing or you're going to kill your grandmother and it's going to be all your fault.
Yeah.
When we start to understand that there is no death, we kind of can't get pushed and prodded in those directions. And it's kind of obvious when people are poking and prodding us to do something so that we avoid death. It's kind of clear that they have an agenda, wouldn't you think?
Nothing sells products like fear.
Right.
If there's one thing I learned being in the media and TV was that was definitely an agenda, was selling fear. A lot of times, like on the news, they would sell fear about something, and then they'd go, "Now we're going to go to commercial." The first commercial would be the the thing that supposedly cures that thing that they just did a piece about. Interesting. Uh, that happened a lot, and this goes all the way back to King James. Most people don't know that King James was like the ruler of his country, and everybody was paying him taxes. And then this all of a sudden, these people stopped paying their taxes, and he was like, "Find out what the hell's going on." And he sent his people out, and they actually came back and said, "We found out that there's this book that's floating around, right? It's called the Bible, and people are reading it, and it promises everlasting life, and it has this." unconditional loving God. And so they really have no fear anymore. And then there's no fear of death. So they're not afraid that we're going to kill them if they don't pay taxes. So they just stopped. And he's commanded that they went and got all of the Bibles from all the people, and he burned all but one, and then he rewrote it. And he's the one that brought in fear and Satan and all hell and all of that. Before that, it was, if you read the Aramaic translation or anything right after that, or anything pre-King James, it was all love all the time, unconditional love. There's no fear of God. Those are words he created and put in there. And most people, there's a lot of people that are putting their faith in that book. And of course, it wasn't like he knew that, like, after he wrote it, redistributed it, he knew that it was maybe that generation that would change their stripes and start paying him taxes, right? However, he knew that because kings think of their family generations and generations down, that he could take care of his family by doing this, because people would forget to say, hey, did you hear about this book? Is not the right book. This isn't the one. And they'd forget to tell their families, and sooner or later it would be what it is now, and the land would still be in plenty. So so people don't know that are purely putting faith into all their faith into that book. And even that book is a big lie, right? That version anyway. And so when I get into people with conversations with people, and if they're stuck in dogmatic and argumentative, energy, and they talk about the Bible, I say, which version? And if they say King James version, I'm like, well, let me tell you a little story. And some people go, nah, I Googled it and it said this. He just made a few changes because of the language and blah, blah, or added a little bit here. Or they just go, whoa, right? And I've had people go read before that and say, oh my gosh, thank you for sharing this with me. And it didn't make them not believe in their creator anymore, but certainly not all that dogmatic fear of death, fear. One of my favorite directors said, if you want to get the crap scared out of you, read the Bible. Like,
Right.
I was like, wow. Oh my God. But then I started thinking about like Old Testament. I was like, oh, yeah, that's so true though. If you read the King James Old Testament, you could have nightmares if you really decided to visualize that and take it on.
Fire and brimstone.
Yeah. So I've just really become a champion of staring down and facing, all of my fears, and I'm quite sure that that's all the success that I've had has been because of my willingness to do that. And when I wasn't doing that, I was working at a restaurant, and I that was my future, until I was willing to step into all that I knew I could be. And that seemed like a really big thing, a really big, scary thing. Right. Because I truly believe if you look at the end result of anything, you can get big dream freak out. It just seems big no matter what it is. So I like to start with that in mind, and then right before that happened, what would happen? Right before that happened, what would happen? And keep coming back in time till I get to my very next baby step. And if I've mapped all that out, I now have the map to the thing, but I never want to look at the end result again, because I'll get big dream freak out. I just look at that next baby step, and taking a series of baby steps, then I find myself standing at the end going, holy crap, I'm here. How did I get here? And then I pull out that list and I can see exactly how I got there. Right. So I didn't focus on the end results the whole time, because that'll, freak you out if it's really truly stepping in to your purpose while you're here and all that you can be. That can seem like a big thing if you're just looking at the end result instead of the baby step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if we're just looking through the eyes of our little human,
Mm-hmm.
when we are being all of who we truly are, we are infinite. We are infinite beings who are one with source itself, fully
Mhm.
supported by the entire universe. And from there, how can you possibly fail? But when
Right.
we place all of our attention, we come down into microscopic view, and we're just looking from this little human body going, oh, it's a great big world and I'm just a little tiny thing, then yeah, we can have all kinds of freak outs. It seems that it is a big, scary world, and that, yes, I'm going to die, my body's going to stop, and that's the end of that. Well, one of the things, about this is the ability to shift back and forth between attention points,
Mm.
to recognize who we truly are and to be able to have that attention point, to recognize that we are one with source, to
Mm.
expand our perception outward into the universe. We are citizens of the universe, not just citizens of your town or your neighborhood, or just your house. It's like we have to expand our purview out farther so we can start to see who we are.
Yeah.
I noticed that from the infinite, we we step our perception down farther and farther and farther, and now our perception is through a microscope, and we're looking at little invisible organisms. We're focused on invisible organisms because we have narrowed our vision so far down that we think that everything is happening from the physical, and we were trying to figure it out on the physical. Well, when we open up our perception, it's completely obvious. Everything is completely clear. It's like opening up our perception to see bigger, see the bigger picture, not
Mm.
just the microscopic picture.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, it's conditioning. It's
Exactly.
all conditioning. Like I forget if it's in the 90s, I think, but there's a large percentage of people that will never leave within 50-mile radius of where they were born. They'll live there and spend their whole life there and never travel out of there, never move, certainly move out of out of the state to another state. Blows my mind because Mara and I have been drove all over almost every state in the U.S. and lived in many, and to find out that that's just so rare, it's so rare, is mind blowing to me because I can't imagine being in one place in one little box my whole life. I mean, I did that myself because I was raising my family, basically, my mom and my sister and my nephew and my son, and I stayed there until I just realized, okay, it's my time now. It's time for me to explore and step into it fully, into my power and all that I can be, and that doesn't involve staying put.
Exactly.
There's for a lot of time I would go speak at spiritual centers, and some of them would say, will you be our spiritual leader? And I was like, I'm not going to be anywhere every Sunday. Like that's not happening. Would so rarely be here that you don't want me to be that guy. And that's not for me anyway, right? Because no matter what, I believe if you're in a spiritual center and you're speaking and people are vibing on what you're saying, then comes guru worship, and I have no interest in that at all. Right? But I
Exactly.
do want to make a profound difference on the planet and reach the world, but not as their guru, just as someone who has them perhaps look at even one thing a little bit differently than they did, and then have that spark a series of like you said, steps of knowing, right? Just put them into their knowing, and their knowing that they are directly connected to the source where they came from, not separate, and all the answers are available, and they just need to sit long enough to hear them, and those types of messages. And that's what I love when people come back and say, that's the thing that I got from you, and now I'm getting answers, or talking to the angels or whatever it was that they wanted to do, or whatever they call it, because it's all the same thing. Uh, right? I'm like the weirdest angel guy. So I have a little bit of a different take on it, but it's it's all source, it's all light, it's all energy, it's all connection to that, whether we call it angels or spirits who crossed over the other side. And I love when you said you get, been visited from people who are on the other side, because the cool thing is they are privy to the vast knowledge of all availability to every answer, right? And so that's why they're able to say "Ps, ps, ps," and give us answers, because they know they're not stuck in being trained every commercial, every show, everything to think that we have to rely on something outside of us. We have to rely on outside sources, outside things, and consume, 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 and buy products. And when you have this next thing, then you'll feel good. And none of it makes anybody feel good. And you can't take it with you. You know, I never heard one person on the other side say, dang, I wish I could have brought my Ferrari with me. Or right? A woman said, I wish I had my makeup. I mean, it's just not a thing. We can't take any of that with us. And many people, even on their deathbed, come to this understanding and apologize for all, call the people that they wronged and apologize to them. And it's like they know something and they haven't even passed over yet. But it's the closer you get, right? When you put a foot in, you start to already see, oh, okay, there is no death, right? There is no death. And
Exactly.
yeah, and then that's when they start to make amends and do whatever they can before they go, because they're like, oh no, 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 I gotta clean this up. I gotta clean this up before I go.
Yeah. Yeah. And, when we start to look at, we are here facing our beliefs. So I look back at my life and I look at all of the negative beliefs that I had that actually ended up playing out in my life,
Hmm.
so that I could face them and walk through them and then go, wow, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. Like I had this terrible fear of having surgery. And I was terrified of that prospect. So what happened? I broke my ankle and had to have surgery. Right. So I had to face that fear. And when I came out of the hospital, it was like, that was not bad. Like there was nothing to fear. I mean, it definitely did not do me a single bit of good and a whole lot of harm in the end, but we will not go in that direction. However, this is our fears cause us, they're only created by our unawareness. The only things that we are afraid of are the things that we can't see. Like when we are not aware that that disease is an illusion, then we get really afraid when they tell us that we have some disease. So when I found myself facing cancer, I was afraid. I was terrified in the beginning. Is
But
this thing, is it going to come and get me? Is it going to kill me? Is it going to, am I going to have this really long, slow, painful death? Like, am I going to be in the hospital on, I'm like, wait a minute. Hang on a second. That's not the story that I am willing to have play out. Like, that is not happening here. So I am going to find a solution to
right,
this, because my body, as I was growing up, was a healthy, fit athlete body. My body is amazing. Like, it could do all kinds of neat stuff, fly through the air and spin like a top and do all kinds of cool stuff. And I was like, that's what my body's capable of. And if it's capable of it once, it's capable of it always. So now, how do I get myself back? What's the thing that got me out of alignment with that? Well, all of my fears about going broke, fears about not being enough, fears of speaking my truth and being killed for speaking my truth, all of these fears that were going on inside were crippling me. And when I was crippled, I stopped being able to move because I
Mm,
was paralyzed in fear. And
mm,
my self-esteem had gone just about this big, microscopic. I needed a microscope to find my self-esteem. It had gotten so small. And
yeah.
so when I decided that I can see the path that the medical route is going to take me on, that's completely clear. It's laid right out for all to see. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not really big on the path. Like, it's not where I want to spend my time. Like, I don't want to spend my time in doctor's offices and hospitals and going through chemo. I have no interest in spending my time that way. So I would rather sit and I would rather spend my time with myself and go inward and reconnect to what I knew when I was a child, that space of infinite beingness. And then when I started asking the question, what do I need to know about this in order to change it? And I tapped into the infinite beingness, the answer became obvious. I moved beyond the belief of being attacked by cancer, and I stepped into awareness of what was actually happening. And it was completely clear. Hey, Lisa, your body's not being attacked by any disease, and neither is anybody else's. Your body is responding to your emotional state. And when you're emotionally crippled, it's crippling your body. So you have to open back up. And as soon as I stepped through the fear of cancer, it was completely obvious that it was an illusion the whole time, that what my body was doing, it was doing it on purpose. My body was actually trying to help me. You know, had I moved through the fear of having surgery sooner, I probably would never have broken my ankle because I wouldn't have had to have had that experience. You know, so when we start to look at our fears and ask better questions about them, we can learn to move through them because they're always an illusion. There's never a reality to it. And we're not talking about, you know, that instant when, you know, you step off the street and you see the bus and like, oh, whoa, you know, we're not talking like that's instinct. Like we're not talking, that's not fear itself. We're talking about these things that run through our minds over and over and start shutting us down, and we stop living. We try to avoid dying. Avoiding dying and living are two completely different things. They're actually the opposite.
Yeah. Yes. So true. Hmm. Let's sit with that for a second. I love that.
So we have Michelle saying, death is a conflict shock of which we are always trying to resolve, which
Mm,
keeps us in healing symptoms almost always. And this is why most of us say stay sick. Very, very true. Because
mhm.
when we are doing something to try to avoid something else, we're always distorting ourselves and trying to skirt around the situation. So we're always creating more and more conflicts within our bodies when we're
Mhm.
living out of alignment, when we're living in the illusion. We are deluding ourselves because we're not living in our truth. We're not living in the infinite beingness. And
Yeah.
Delbert
Yeah.
says, Keith, I'm reading your book. Fascinating. Thanks for writing and sharing.
Thank you, Delbert.
And Jackie says, you made me think of another scripture that is comforting. Live for today. The day is sufficient by itself.
Mm,
Have no care for tomorrow. Tomorrow will
mm.
take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kyle Cease, I'm getting to share Kyle Cease with you. His focus is now, and has a way of teaching about this now moment that's completely different than any other person I've ever heard speaking. Yeah, but yeah, that's so true. And as you were saying, the restriction, those fears, that's all creation too. So it's like we're being trained and conditioned to be constricted, to be in fear, to worry about everything. And then that begets creation. And then we just create reasons to be fearful, reasons to be sick, reasons to, and it just creates all of that. And so anything that's been created by us, which is everything, can be uncreated by us.
Exactly.
Right. So it's where do we want to put our focus? Which
Exactly.
way?
Yeah.
Which way?
And then
It's
go
like
back.
if we make it all up, we darn well might want to make it up in a way that's for us and positive and feels good and produces abundance and right and everlasting life or anything. Let's just go ahead and focus on that. See what the result is.
Right? It's like if we go back to your story about King James and the
Mm,
taxes, people wised up. It's like, who are you? We're not going to pay you taxes. And
yeah.
then all of a sudden, the strong arm comes down and says, here, we're going to rewrite all of this so that now we're going to disseminate information that is going
Right.
to give you cause to believe that you need to
Mm,
listen and that you need to pay your taxes.
yeah.
And so now we have one person, this King James, who's like, hey, I want people to pay me taxes. They owe me taxes. And then you get one person that disseminates information to many people and then puts a threat with that, the threat of death or the
Right.
threat of imprisonment.
Right.
And then you get a whole bunch of people that are trying to avoid death or imprisonment, and they just acquiesce.
Hmm.
So now that story has long lineage. So now we have a long lineage of people who are still acquiescing.
Hmm.
To whom and why?
Right.
Like, and we start to look at, you know, our bodies have natural immunity. It was built right in. Like, creator thought of every aspect before creating these bodies. Like, all possibilities were considered, right? Everything we need is right in these cells.
Hmm.
But then there was a whole bunch of do this or you're going to die. And suddenly now the natural immunity that we have is now vanished, all gone, as if
Or
it never
freaking out.
existed, right?
Or
And now,
freaking out.
exactly, we have a fear freak out,
Yep. Ah!
right? And then when we're
Yeah.
freaking out, we do all kinds of things that were really pretty irrational.
Yeah. Make bad decisions. That's for sure.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
know, the medical model never talks about our body's ability to heal itself. So
Right.
super
Well, if you think
happy.
about it, it's like, okay, we all have these things they're labeled as cancer cells always in our body, right? But they're just like molecules. They're just like all the other things that are
Normal
in our.
cells.
But when they get activated by us, right, usually by some type of stress or fear or bad decisions, right, anger, resentment, fear, all of these things, and then poof, gets activated, and then let's just say this is the thing, right? So then you would look at the thing and say, why did I cause the thing? What created the thing? Let me look at that. Let me do the opposite of that. Let me get back into love, and then it would just become lay dormant again. As whereas the medical model would say, oh, we'll take that out, and then
Well,
we'll
yeah.
take that out and we'll radiate you and we'll do this and we'll do all this stuff, and then but why did it come back? Because you didn't change the thing that created it in the first place. Right? That's why it came back. You can take it out 100 times, and if you don't deal with what the actual creation was, then it will just keep coming back. Right? And so
Right. So
that
our bodies are always trying to help us.
Yes.
So the body is generating those, if we're talking about extra cells in in this instance,
Hmm.
body is creating those extra cells because it needs those extra cells to go through the fear that we're giving it. We're saying, hey, danger, danger, Will Robinson. And the body's going, hey, let me help you. Let me reinforce myself to help you through this dangerous time.
Yeah.
And so the body, it's not that they are cancer cell. There's no such thing as a cancer
Right.
cell. There's
Right.
no such thing as cancer at all, period.
The
That's
label.
the illusion. So the
Right.
body is just your own cells. When I
Right.
was thinking about, when I was going through my process, I was thinking cancer cells. Like, well, where did they come from? They didn't just like drop out of the sky. And I don't
Right.
have a whole bunch of extra cells just like hanging around waiting for something to do. It's like, these are my own cells. Hang on a second. These are my cells. And my cells are really not trying to kill me. They're actually trying to keep me alive. They're trying to keep the body functioning and alive long enough for us to come to our senses and clear away the fears that we're facing. The
Yep.
shame, the blame, the doubt, the guilt, the anxiety, the stress, the worry, that all of those things are illusions. They're the hallmark of illusion because source has nothing to fear. Source, the creator of all that is, has nothing to fear. It would never fear its own creation. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
We are the creators. Every single thing in our life is our own creation.
Hmm.
So we're either creating from our awareness and we're creating consciously, or we're creating unconsciously. And when we're creating unconsciously, we get a whole bunch of stuff that we don't like. And then we go, oh my God, I'm a victim. This is horrible. Well, we're also the creators, so we can simply create better. We can start focusing on the bigger picture, on who we actually are. And then we can start to realize, oh, all of these energies, the fear, the doubt, the shame, the blame, I can just simply clear them out of my space. And then I
Hmm.
don't have to worry about them anymore. I don't have to deal with them anymore because they're all energy and they're just dark, negative energies. When I clear out the dark negative, I just have light positive left. Like, because
Hmm.
that's who and what I am. The illusion is always the dark.
Hmm.
It's never real. It never has any power other than the power that the light feeds it.
Here's a tool for my but give me a tool, give me some actionable step, give me an affirmation, give me something. uh every organ, action, and function of my body is working perfectly. Every organ, action, and function of my body is working perfectly. Every organ, action, and function of my body is perfectly. If you run that as a mantra, it's like, if you're going to tell a story, why not tell a story that's in alignment with your perfect health? Knowing that every organ and every action, every function of your body is working perfectly, and speak that to existence. Speak that into existence. That's be a great kickoff point for anyone listening who is like, well, about where do I start? Because I know that, again, big dream freak out. So if you talk about going from, I'm watching this and I've been listening to the medical model, right, my whole life, I'm brand new to the show. How do you expect me to go from here to there? Right? It's all just steps, one step at a time. Could start with that. Every organ, every action, every function of my body is working perfectly. It could be, start reading books from people who know what we're speaking of. Read Lisa's book, right? Uh, Read Walking with My Angels. Start to read things that will expand uh, your vision, your thinking, your knowing, your thoughts. Start focusing on the language that you're using and The language around you, those people around you are using, because we're the 5 people that we surround ourselves with the most. We will become those 5 people. So how's that going? How are those 5 people? Shut off the mainstream media. These are all tips to get you to where we are. Shut off the mainstream media. Yes. Um,
Right, and we have Deanna with us today, and she says all those diseases, quote unquote, processes are adaptation programs that go on in nature. God created us perfectly. We are just misunderstanding cause and effect. This was discovered by Dr. Hammer back in the 80s, German New Medicine or Germanic healing knowledge. Power to the people. And she put a good link. Thank you, Deanna, for putting the link for learning GNM. And this
yeah,
is all, it's scientifically proven. It just, the mainstream is not spewing real science. It's not spewing the truth. So
right,
because if the mainstream was actually used for the good, then we would all have this knowledge. The knowledge would be spread over the world in the course of hours because it's all connected. So we
right.
would learn that disease is an illusion in the course of hours, because we would understand that when we face a stress, our body responds to the stress. And that once that is manifest in our bodies, we have to learn that this is not a problem. This is actually the solution to the problem. And
Mm,
it's when we flip it around and we realize that this is not a problem, that this is my body's solution to the problem. It changes everything. We
mm,
walk through that whole illusion that is costing billions and billions and billions of dollars and billions of bodies every year. And we can start to learn how to take our health into our own hands. And we can
mm,
start seeing the bigger picture, the bigger truths. And we can walk through these fears once and for all. Can you imagine living in a world without disease?
yes.
What would it look like if we lived in a world that is disease-free? It would be amazing. And it's possible right here, right now. Keith, me, Deanna, Michelle, Delbert, everybody watching. Okay. We live in that world right now. It's right here, right now. And we're opening the invitation to anyone who wants to join us. Start learning what's actually true so you can take your power back. Walk through the fear of death. See that you cannot die. Once you walk through that fear, once you burst that bubble, it's amazing the power that comes back to you. And it's amazing how clearly you can see the agendas going on that are pushing people in different directions so that they don't die. Look in the future as you watch TV, see who's pushing what agendas. Open your awareness to who you truly are. So Keith, we have, let's see, do we have
And
any questions?
Deanna's one of the featured teachers in the
Yes,
film. But
exactly. So yes, Deanna and I are in this amazing film along with Keith and some amazing other people, Lynn McTaggart and um,
yeah,
JP Sears, Kyle Cease, they're
John
all
DiMartini. Yeah,
awesome. It's going to be quite the amazing film. So stick with us here. It's not out yet. We will be giving you all the information as it comes live online. And so it'll, when do you have a basic time frame for your movie, Keith?
nope.
All right. So
As soon as
You heard it
As soon
here
as,
first, people. Don't
soon
be
as,
asking when it's coming out.
as humanly possible with, you know, on a platform that's not censoring people in a way that will be able to take the million hits that it's going to get all at once when we stream live, a platform to be able to stream live and take that many, have that many people on. All those things need to be put in place after the film is in the can, so to speak. So those are the things I'm looking into. So as soon as I can make all that happen, then we'll launch this puppy.
Excellent. Oh, I can't wait. Everybody's super excited about it. Denise says, can't wait. Keep making a difference on this
Yeah.
earth as it is in heaven. Exactly. Bringing
But
heaven
the trailers,
to earth.
trailers are coming out very soon, so look for those. trailers
Yay.
trailers will be coming out soon, and then you can go sign up to be kept in the loop. Just put in your name and email address, and then I'll be keeping you in the loop as far as the launch goes. But the trailers are coming very soon. Just need to finish that website.
Excellent. So the excitement is building, everybody. Stay tuned. Stay tuned here. We've got it all for you. We won't let you miss out. So,
Yeah.
Keith, thank you for another great conversation. Love our
Mhm.
conversations.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for who joined us live. Thank you.
So, Keith, and if you have not yet read Keith's book, Walking with My Angels, please go out and grab a copy. I think it's on my, oh, I don't have it right on my desk here. I thought I had it on my desk to show you, but Walking with My Angels. It's a true story, Keith's life and his encounter with real life angels. So all kinds of miracles are happening and are available. So look beyond just the surface. Look beyond your fears. Step through the fears into the miracles that are available right here, right now.
Yes.
All right.
So it is.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. You can find Keith at Keith Leon S. Is it KeithLeonS.com? KeithLeon.com.
Just Google Keith Leon S. The whole bunch of things will show up.
There you go. So, Keith, thank you so much for another fabulous conversation. Until next week, everyone, create for yourselves a great week. Bye for now.